Hello everyone, and welcome to Season 5 of Crave Arts Presents The Future of Film, featuring intimate interviews with the best emerging filmmakers from around the world. My name is Tom Oliva, and I am co-founder and executive director of Crave Arts and the All-American High School Film Festival, dedicated to discovering, showcasing, and uniting the next generation of visual storytellers and content creators. In October of 2024, we celebrated our 12th annual festival. 12 years in, and our community is thriving. A testament to the power of believing in the arts and the emerging artists that share their stories with us. Can I just start at that? Start fresh? Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Season 5 of Crave Arts Presents The Future of Film, featuring intimate interviews with the best emerging filmmakers from around the world. My name is Tom Oliva, and I am co-founder and executive director of Crave Arts and the All-American High School Film Festival, dedicated to discovering, showcasing, and uniting the next generation of visual storytellers and content creators. In October of 2024, we celebrated our 12th annual festival. 12 years in, and our community is thriving, a testament to the power of believing in the arts and the emerging artists that share their stories with us. The collective spirit of our organization, our community, and all of our year-round initiatives is rooted in a shared passion. A passion to breathe life into stories, to collaborate with others who share your vision, and to create content at the highest level. Content with the ability to move viewers emotionally, to inspire with unprecedented style and craft, and to impact real change. Some quick updates from the All-American Bulletin Board as we gear up for our 13th annual festival in New York City. We're busy preparing for our 2025 festival, which will take place this October 17th to 19th in New York City. Submissions are open via Film Freeway with the final deadline on July 30th. Head over to hsfilmfest.com to get the latest news and updates about the 2025 festival. You can save on early bird tickets, book your discounted rooms at the Hilton Midtown Hotel, and check out our downloadable 2025 budget guide, planning guides, and posters, because it's never too early to begin planning your all-American adventure. And if you plan on attending the fest in New York City, we highly recommend competing in our film invitational competitions, the world's premier on-site student filmmaking competitions in New York City from October 15th to 17th. We offer a variety of authentic, real-world production experiences for student filmmakers and video production programs, your chance to crew up and produce a short film in just 10 weeks. Registration opens in May. For anyone looking for new gear, be sure to visit our Preferred Partners discount page under our Resources tab on our website. You can check out awesome discounts on a variety of gear and software. And teachers, if you're looking for a great way to boost your curriculum and elevate and inspire your students, check out our video production resource community and roadshow. 2 terrific in-person or remote opportunities featuring lesson plans and interactive presentations based on our library of exemplary student films. More information can be found at hsfilmfest.com under our Education tab. Today's guest, Samuel Correa, is an alumni from 2021 and 2022, a native of the South Florida region and graduate of West Broward High School, as well as the winner of Best Horror Sci-Fi Fantasy Film in 2021 for his film Ilia. I can still remember our excitement when this film arrived. We were immediately impressed by Sam's ability to balance story and film technique, with both working together to help engage the viewer. In Ilia, Sam builds an understated but extraordinary world, bursting with equal parts desperation and hope. A world overwhelmed by isolation, but focused on connection. A world where every angle adds weight and every color adds meaning. Ilia is no doubt bolstered by excellent VFX, but what makes it truly special is that it's really the connection to the character and conflict that keeps us invested. It's a big and bold story concept, one that, through the lens of a young filmmaker, probably should have failed, but it doesn't, because it's so smart. Sam is careful about building a world that feels authentic, a less is more style that shows us only what we need to see, making sure to focus on the believable little details and a character in conflict we yearn to see resolved. With such a big concept, we need to learn a lot of information quickly. The conflict is almost immediately revealed. Quote, "Waiting for my parents to come back. A space mission to save Earth. It's been 11 years. The film's protagonist, Lila, has a desperate want and a huge obstacle, a deep desire to reunite with her parents despite overwhelming odds. And she's utterly alone in her quest. Her only companions, a sick and mute grandfather, and an emotionless robot who has all of the answers except the ones she needs. As we watch the exposition, we want to learn more about what makes Lila tick and what she values and how far she will go to get what she wants. This film excels because it consistently raises the stakes, employs symbolic contrasts, and thrives on meaningful imagery that manifests character development. As an emerging filmmaker, Sam clearly understood the power of revealing Lila's struggle and the importance of making her vulnerable. The story is ripe with struggle, offering ample fuel for a series of turning points that keep the viewer invested. Each event serves to enhance our identification with Lila, and her peaks and valleys of emotion further establish this connection. Sam knows how to manipulate and guide the viewer, wisely building tension to a boiling point and then pulling it back with room to breathe. Slower pacing that emphasizes the visual experience, giving the viewer needed time to reflect and process the character's journey. In the film's most poignant and dramatic moment, it's all showing. The score takes over, the atmosphere soars, and our anticipation and immersion are rewarded. So it goes without saying that I am excited to speak with Sam Correa today. We've waited years to reconnect and dive deep into his inspiration, his journey, and where all of his talent and passion has taken him. I am honored to be joined by Samuel Correa today. Hey Sam, welcome. How are you?
Hi Tom, thank you. I'm good. How are you?
I'm great, man. I'm cold. It's cold here in New York. I think it's cold there in Florida. So, we're together in this for a rare opportunity to fight through winter. But super excited to reconnect with you. We're going to start the conversation off with something we call This or That. It's our new intro segment. In this quick reply exercise, I'll provide two options, and you just share which one you prefer. Cool?
Cool. I'm down. Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. First up, pizza or pasta?
I'm going to go with pizza for this one.
I agree. Apples or oranges?
Oranges.
I mean, you're from Florida. It's got
Florida.
It's got it. All right, coffee or energy drink?
Neither. I have bad experiences with coffee. We could talk about that later, but.
So you're not a big caffeine guy?
No, I am, but hey, neither of those are good for me, so I rather not choose it if I can.
All right, fair. Jeans or sweats?
Jeans.
Mountains or ocean?
Mountains.
Which is an odd answer, I feel like, but we'll have to figure out why. Well, actually, I'm just going to ask, why mountains over ocean? As a Floridian, I would have thought, you're just jumping right in.
I love the ocean, don't get me wrong, but I'm from Colombia, and the area of Colombia I'm from, it's full of mountains. So I was born there. I came here when I was 9, so to me, they call me montañero. In Spanish, that means mountain man. So
I love that.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's amazing. I didn't know. I imagine it's absolutely beautiful. Kind of related, city or country?
City.
Retro or futuristic?
Let's go for retro.
All right. Wide angle or close-up?
Close-ups every day.
Drama or comedy?
For me, drama. I wish I was funny. I wish I was funnier, but
You made me laugh, see? Me too, man. I'm definitely a drama guy. I like the realism thing, probably because I'm not funny, so fair. And finally, film school or DIY?
I have to go with DIY, although I am in film school. But
All right. A lot of contradictions to explore here. I love it. So now let's dive a little bit deeper into all things Sam Correa. Obviously, I said it before, it's awesome to reconnect. We wanted to give you a few years out of the festival so that you gained some more experience and had some more insights to share with the community. Let's start with where you are currently and what you're up to as it relates to film.
man, so currently I am a third-year student at Florida State. I am a junior. I've been in the film school for now 2 years. I am on board with doing my second to last film. We shoot in about 2 weeks, so I'm in pre-pro for that. I was just location scouting today. Other than that, I'm working on a bunch of other films of my classmates. Uh, so I've been super busy with that. And then I've also been working on freelance stuff on the side. I created my own like media production thing here in Tally with my friend, and we've been doing that on the side, creating music videos, doing like parties, clubs, all that stuff. So I've been busy. I've
Amazing.
been keeping myself busy.
So you're making a little money while you're going to school.
Yeah, I have. I've been.
Yeah.
We could talk about that, but yeah, that's part of
All
it.
right, cool. So you're a junior at Florida State University. Why did why was that the right decision for you? Why did that feel like the best next step?
Well, for me, one, because it's Florida. I mean, I didn't want to leave Florida. My parents live in South Florida, and one of the big reasons is to stay close to family and stay as close as I can to my hometown. Two, logistically speaking, it's a in-state tuition, so I'm not paying crazy amounts to go to film school. It's very affordable to go to Florida State. Um, and three, I think it was just destiny, part of it. I went on a college trip when I was a junior in high school. I saw the colleges in Florida, went from all the way south to all the way north to here in Tallahassee. And I think Florida State just shocked me the most. And it also felt like the most, I don't know, I wanted to journey here. You know what I mean? I wanted to see what Tally had. And I know a lot of great filmmakers have come out of Tally, so I maybe wanted to see what they saw in the city and what inspired them, or what was it about Tallahassee that kind of made them successful.
Absolutely. What would you just how is what's the experience like at Florida State University? So for someone who may be listening and exploring a lot of options, I would imagine Florida State's, one of the schools that they might be looking at. What is it like being a film student there?
Well, I think there's a lot of artists here in Tallahassee, and people don't exactly think of Tallahassee as that. I think first people think of Florida State as a party school, because it has fame for that. But aside from that, there's a huge, huge artist community, from people who sing to people who are in the music school who do jazz or composing, people who do designs like costume design. Um, I mean, all types of artists, photographers, filmmakers, like, and that's one of the things that has really surprised me about Florida State, because I've taken trips to all the other colleges in Florida, but Florida State has one of the tight, like a very tight knit community of artists all around, and I think that's great for just not just a student but film students, because that multidisciplinary kind of connection is really good, because you would be surprised the connections you can have with someone who's in the music school as a filmmaker, and you guys can relate on various themes as artists. So all of that is really refreshing, especially when you're so focused on film all the time. So sometimes hearing about someone that's in a different art form is it's very nice.
Yeah, and what kind of assignments and projects do you work on as a student there?
Well, so Florida State, they keep us busy. They keep us very busy. So the first year you come to college, you're actually not doing film school yet. You're taking all your prerequisite classes and getting those over with. So the film school here is actually a 3-year program instead of a 4-year program. So you get into the film school your sophomore year, and once you get in, your first project is called an F1. So the whole fall semester, you write and direct your first 2.5 minute short film, but as well you have to kind of do every position in that cycle, meaning you direct your own film, but the day after, then you have to be the DP for your friend's film. And then the day after, you have to be the gaffer for your friend's film. And then the day right after, you have to be the sound mixer. And it keeps rotating kind of like this. They call them cycles here. We do cycles of films because you don't just work on your own, you work on others. So right off the bat, the F1 is what hits you. And, they put you to work right away. And you have a crew of 5 people to make a 2.5 minute film. You have one day to shoot it. You have 12 hours to shoot it. So it's a lot, just saying these things reminds you of things like All American or other challenges that kids do in high school. It is really like that, you have one day to do it, so, but it changes over time. Your second semester here, you'll do a documentary. which to me has been so far my favorite part of film school because I got to travel back home to South Florida. So they basically give you 2 weeks to travel
Oh, wow.
anywhere you want in the country, and you can take the equipment and stuff. All the travel fees and all that. Like if you're traveling out of state, you have to account for that. But if you're traveling in state, it's pretty affordable and pretty easy to go down to South Florida. And I did my documentary close to home. I did it about my mom. So I got to spend like 2 weeks at my house with two other of my classmates and a camera, just filming everything and making a documentary on my mom. And that was an incredible, one of my favorite experiences of film school because not only was I really happy with the doc, but I think me and my classmates at that point started getting very close. And then fast forward to now, which is 2 semesters later, we've been writing our third and second to last film of film school, which is a 5-minute narrative. But now it's at a higher level because instead of 5 people or 2 or 3 people, now the crew is 12 people.
Wow.
So, and there's department heads and the equipment grew because now we're using the red cameras and we have a whole grip truck. So now it's another level. And the cycle is also longer. So for
I
the
was going to say, are
F1,
you still cycling through you have to perform all of the different roles?
yes, but now it's even more because
Yeah.
there is more rows. Now because there's 12 people on the set, you got to go through 12 rows, 11 rows. So now the cycles are crazy. I'm in it currently as we speak in a cycle. I've already been the DP and the gaffer for 2 shows. We call them shows. I've been already the DP and the gaffer for 2 shows. And then the next one I have is in like a week, and I'm going to be the production designer. And then right after that one, I am going to be the second AD. And then right after that one, I direct mine. And then for 2 months, you're just film sets. It almost feels like you're shooting a feature film because of how much time you're spending on set. Um,
Do you
and
have
it's
a
great.
new appreciation for the different roles that are involved in a film because you've had to perform them?
Oh, 100%. I mean, definitely a bigger appreciation for the role, but also you realize like how different it is to be a BTL role from an ATL and the responsibilities that ATL really has, meaning what I mean by ATL for maybe someone that's listening that doesn't know. So the ATL roles, at least at Florida State, it might be different in the industry, is the director, the cinematographer, the producer, and the production designer. I think in the real world, the production designer isn't there. It's just director, DP, and producer. So that means above the line jobs, meaning in the real world, it's like usually the jobs that pay the most and also like the
Okay.
more important ones. BTL are below the line jobs, which is everything else that you could think of from gaffer, sound designer, boom op, all those roles. So here, the ATL roles have a lot of responsibility because if you're the producer or the director or the DP, you have to have a plan. You have to, the pre-pro is all that crew, the ATL. So you really realize how important it is to have a director and a cinematographer and a producer who are not just clicked and on the same mindset, but also have prepared. Because then when you're a gaffer, you want to know what you need to do. Okay, does the DP have a plan or not? So it shows you how everything matters. Every single position matters, and also like the clarity from being a DP to a gaffer. Like it doesn't matter if you're the DP or the gaffer. Like being clear is important for every position, even if you're the boom op. You need to be clear on what you're doing, what story you're telling. All those things are super important, and it's all communication, it's all preparation, it's all clarity, and these are not things you're thinking about when you're shooting guerrilla style with two of your friends and
Right.
you're the DP, the editor, the cinema, you're everything. You're not thinking about how do you have this idea in your head, but then you have to make it clear for 20 other people, and you have to almost let go of that almost control and let other people take care of it. So it's a very different way of making films than I'm used to, but it's really cool to see it. And you see how people make these crazy films out there, because the teams are huge.
I'm so glad that you brought that up, and it's crazy that you did because I was just on a podcast before we jumped on, and they were interviewing me, and I had a chance to talk to festival producer Chris Omar, and one of the questions that they sent me ahead of time was, "What's the most important skill a filmmaker can have?" And we both together decided it's communication. you have to be able to communicate your ideas to others, or they're not going to know how to best perform their role. And you just echoed that. It's something that you've learned obviously early on, and film school has enabled that. Are there assignments, roles that you've had to take on that you maybe previously didn't have experience with that you really liked, that surprised you? Like, I was a gaffer and I loved it, or, is there a specific role that really stood out to you and you're like, I never thought I'd be interested in this, but I could maybe even pivot to this?
Yeah, gaffer, that now that you said it, that is one that I did around a week ago. And I tried out for the first time. I've never been a gaffer. And the DP who was my DP for that show didn't have too much lighting experience. So he literally told me, like, hey, Sam, like, do whatever. You know what I mean? Like, just play around and feel free to light however you want. And that gave me almost an opportunity to play around with all the equipment we had, because we have a huge grip truck of equipment, and I don't know half of the things that are in there. You know what I mean? There's so many lights. So I took that show as a gaffer, and I was like, let me play around. So I grabbed some aperture bulbs, which are like little LED bulbs that you could screw into places, and C-stands, and we did these crazy rigs, and I just had a lot of fun with it. And because of that, I think the visuals, the visual style of the film was very unique, and I really enjoyed that because let me have freedom and just experiment with what I had. I think we created a visual style and visual look that were very unique to the film. And it was from being able to play around and light and stuff. So Gaffer I really enjoyed. I know it might not always be so free, but even
Yeah.
then it's an awesome job, to be honest, to be a gaffer. So I really
And
like that.
and I love this idea of, having to perform all the different roles, because obviously then it gives you an appreciation for what other people are doing when you see, a professional project, or, even just another student project. You realize, wow, look at the thought and effort that went into this. Look at the understanding of the craft. Let's just circle back real quick. Why did you decide on film school as your path forward? Obviously it's working out. I can tell you're passionate and excited about it, and you're getting these great opportunities. But, as someone graduating from high school, what made you say, I'm not just going to go out there and kind of figure this out. I'm going to go to film school.
Yeah, well, that question really takes me back. Like every time someone asks me that, I feel like it takes me back, because I think when you're a filmmaker, your mind is always running, and you're film, and you almost never stop to think what your life was before film. So when I think of it, it was genuinely super different. I mean, I was just I was an ordinary kid. I never grew up with no film influences, like none of that. Like I moved from Colombia when I was 9. All I did was play soccer. Honestly, I didn't do too good in school because of at first the language barrier, and then after it just I think I just got unlucky with the zones and schools I went to. Um, and I never really found interest in it until I remember my brother was going to college. I was around like 12 and he was 18 or so, and he was going to college for the first time and leaving to UF in Gainesville. So we took a trip, and I made a little video for his whole trip. And then we got back, and I spent all night editing it because I cared, because I was connected to the footage. I was like, I want
You
to
wanted
make
to
something
capture
with
that
this.
moment. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, I wanted to capture that special moment of saying goodbye to my brother. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna make a little video. I'm gonna edit. So then I got into all these, I searched up all the best editing softwares. I somehow got Final Cut Pro on my computer, and I just made a little video for him, and I had a lot of fun doing it. And that was it. And then a couple years later, when I finally got to go to high school, I ended up, my freshman year was at school called Everglades High School, and they didn't have a good, like, no TV production program, none of that. Um, and I was getting really bad grades at that school. I was just playing soccer, and I was just a kid having fun. Like, I would go to school for the friends, to be honest, like to just hang out with
Sure.
friends. But I guess it wasn't really reflecting well on my education. So I think I had to talk with my parents around that summer, and I told them, like, hey, I want to go to a different school. Like, I think the environment here, there's nothing that they're offering me that feels like I can do. I don't want to become an engineer. I don't want to do math. I don't want to do any of this. Can we look for another school that has more opportunities? And that's where I found West Broward High School. which is where I ended up graduating from, and they had a TV production program. And I joined, and I got super passionate because all these competitions, and I'm like, I want to go to Missouri, I want to go to New York, I want to go to, STN and all these things. And it was those trips that made me like, okay, that means I got to make really cool videos so my teachers could see them, and then they can put my name on the list and invite me, and I can go. I still had the same mindset of I just want to have fun with my friends.
Mm-hmm.
But then while I was making those videos, I realized, like, damn, I like this. Like, this is fun. Like I enjoy, I enjoy the trips, but I also I like the competitive aspect of it too, because I come from soccer. So it's all tournaments and stuff like that. So I like the competitive aspect of like, okay, there's a first, second, and third prize, like, and our teacher is hyping it up. And then slowly I made a couple films, and they did well in the festival circuits. But I think after, it wasn't even that. I wouldn't even say that was the point, because after the films did well in the festival circuit, I realized, like, okay, now why am I doing this?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not doing it for the awards. I'm not doing it for the competition anymore, because I've done that. I've gone to the festivals. So like, why am I doing this? Like, why do I keep doing this? Because I was still eager to do it. And then I realized, like, I think this is just something that I want to do. Like, this is just something that's calling to me. I still, to this day, I might have better reasons to tell you why I'm doing it. But even then, like, I don't think I truly know why I chose this path till way later. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think that was kind of it. Me asking myself, like, why am I still doing this? After all the festivals, after why? And me telling myself, I think it's just something you're passionate about. That's what then led me to go to film school and to do all these things and to still be doing it. It's just following that weird, passion or instinct that you have in your gut. I've just been following that. And now I'm here, yeah.
Yeah, and well, I love that your ability to be introspective and to kind of step back and say, because ultimately what you're saying is this the right path for me? Is this something that I can do as work? That doesn't feel like work, even though we all know it's a ton of work. But because you have a passion for it, you're willing to go through the processes that'll take you where you want to go. I think it's awesome. So what I'm gathering here, my next question is typically like, when did you first start making movies and why? Well, we just got the answer. You did it to commemorate a trip with your brother and a significant milestone in the family. I clearly feel the emphasis of family in your life, and I love that, by the way. And I'm sure your journey to America was not easy, and you clearly went through some hurdles, but seems like you've come out really well from everything and all the challenges you faced. My next question is typically, when did you first start making movies and why? And we now know that it was late. You got in on the game late. Why film is maybe a better question for you. Like, why do you love this thing?
I think at the end of the day, it's the stories, and I think to think about it, why I first loved film, because now I think I'm doing it for a completely different reason than why I started. But when I
Okay.
first, I think, did it was because I had a lot of questions, and I feel like I was a very, like you said, introspective type of kid that thought a lot about why am I doing, I had a lot of questions, and I liked that I could make films and hopefully try to answer them in the process of making it. And my first film was a mystery. Like, my first ever film, oh wow, my first ever film was actually for All American. To be honest, yeah, my first ever film was called Psychosis. I was
Mm-hmm.
around 16 or 17. It was COVID, and All American had an invitational during COVID. So we spent a month, me and my friends, and they were like, Sam, you get to direct and write, and you get to make a film. And I'm like, me? And it's generally because during COVID, everybody left. Like, all the people that were in the program just didn't really want to do it anymore, because they almost felt down, like, oh, COVID, I got my high school taken away. So it gave a bunch of kids a new, almost like, it let us step up to the plate, kids that weren't really like upset about COVID, because I was like a sophomore. So I was like, okay, I don't mind not having school for another year.
Yeah.
So, and then I made a film for All American, and it was a whole mystery about this detective trying to uncover a case. And I submitted it to All American, and I just enjoyed that process. You know, I enjoyed finding the police car. I enjoyed all of this, but at the end of the day, the story, I was like, okay, like it wasn't the best, but I enjoyed the process. And then that led me to then have the confidence to finally write something from my heart, because I think that film was, I was trying to be somebody else. I was trying to make a
Mm-hmm.
film as like, what would someone else do, or what would a film look like? I think my next film, I got all those things off of me because I made Psychosis, and then I started writing the sci-fi film called Ilia, which is, if anything, the reason why I'm even here talking to you. Um, and I put myself into that film in various ways, but it was at the core a question about family and something that I was going through at that time, which was my mom didn't live with me for many years because she stayed back in Colombia, um, for work, and to also support our family. So from 9 years old all the way to like 18, she lived in Colombia. She lived away from us. So I was basically mostly raised by my dad and my brother for a bit, but then he left to college. So it was just me and my dad. And to give credit to every other friend and parent of my friends that I had, because I learned a lot from, especially in South Florida, all types of cultures, all types of people. And I made this film just almost searching. You know, it is about searching for hope. Like, um, and I connected to it, and I asked, my brother was the first person that I ever kind of pitched the idea to, and he was the one who told me that I think that he saw me putting myself into the film, because I
Mm-hmm.
think, so I have an older brother, he's 7 years older, and I think he knows me better. Well, at least then he knew me better than I knew myself and what I was doing. Because to be honest, I didn't realize self-consciously that I was putting myself into it. But when I
It
showed
was
him the finished
instinct.
script,
Yeah, yeah,
it was instinct.
yep.
And then I made that film, and then when I first saw it finished, like when I finished editing, and I played it through, and I was sitting, I felt just a huge wave of emotion that I had never felt before from anything I've ever made, or just anything so personal. And I think that was the reason that I kept making film, like why I kept doing it, because I knew that if I could do that again and do that again and keep doing that, it was special. You know what I mean? And I was just following that special feeling.
Yeah, it's
And yeah.
cathartic too. I imagine. You know, you get a lot out of putting that personal touch into a story that now makes perfect sense the way you're explaining it, and how much family means to you. And it comes through in the story and the character, even though the character's a female and her parents are lost in space. So you take this very personal thing and elevate it through the medium of film, which, again, based on your experience up until that point, it's absolutely amazing what you were able to do. And I'm just wondering, how much did you rely on other people to inform some of those things, or did it just come pouring out of you? Symbolic lighting choices. I mentioned the contrasts and the imagery. I love the fact that there's two other characters in it, but neither one of them can communicate what she really needs, because the grandfather's sick and he doesn't speak, and the other companion is a computer who doesn't have any human emotion, and the kind of attachment that she's seeking, that's the loneliness that you felt missing your mom. All of those other pieces, though, the cinematic pieces of the film, did you get help from other people? Was it a collaborative thing, or you just figured it out?
Um, I wouldn't just, I mean, saying that I just figured it out, I think it's too easy to kind of represent what it was actually, because it was a process. I had to. I think first, I will say one of the biggest inspirations for that film was in Interstellar.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'll start there, because I think the inspirations was what helped me the most to make that film. Interstellar was a huge inspo in terms of the emotional journey of my character. Then I had other inspos, like even Iron Man, for the VFX and all that stuff, with the projector and
Mm-hmm.
all those screens. That was a huge inspo too. So taking those inspirations and then saying, okay, so what can I do with what I have? I have Well, huge shout out to someone that you guys might know, which is Jim Garashi, which is the owner of
Yeah.
Shortcuts.
We
He's a
just saw him
big,
last week. He's amazing. Yeah.
yes, he's a huge reason why me and a lot of Florida filmmakers are able to almost express so freely. It's because he's always offered us equipment. He's always been like, hey, if you guys need lights, if you guys need anything, I have it for free to check out for any South Florida student.
It's awesome.
And I took advantage of that. I was like, okay, well, can I have some, maybe like an LED light? Because I'm planning on shining some moonlight through this window. And do you have this and do you have that? Like I told him my ideas and he was like, here, you can use this to do that. You know what I mean? So that he was a huge help because when I had an idea, he had exactly what I needed to do it. So it was very much, I had an idea, I put it down and then it happened. You know what I mean? I think that film and I try to, even today, after I think almost 5 years since I've made that film, I try to ground myself back to that film because I didn't doubt myself. Not once, because I had nothing to lose. It was my second film
Right.
ever. I didn't even think I was going to do film. I'm like, let me just make this. Like, I wasn't doing it for anybody. You know what I mean? I had no pressures. Nobody thought I was, people thought, saw me as a soccer player. So I was very confident. I'm like, I want to do this. I want moonlight to shine through here. I want a moon. Let's buy a moon from Amazon to put there. Let's, like all these ideas. Let's put books everywhere. You know, like it was just it. And then I had like two or three other friends who I'll name: Ethan Cates, Andrea Guzman, and Genesis Ibarra, who were all classmates of mine, who were just crazy enough to say they also had nothing to lose, so we all did it together, and that's how it happened. Like it was very free flowing. It was very much like us just not really trying things out, but more just going for it.
I'm
And
hearing a lot of really cool things here. I'm hearing, first of all, that you're a COVID-born filmmaker,
yeah,
that, that crazy, tumultuous, sad period birthed your filmmaking career and helped you find your way, which is so cool and ironic. I'm also like, my instinct here is to say that you're a natural. And I think to a certain extent that's true because, you know, you watch a couple of films. You basically said, you weren't like a student of film growing up. You weren't watching tons of movies. And then all of a sudden you got a taste for it. And then you started watching movies, but you were watching them through a specific lens. You were saying, hey, like, look at that technique. That's what's making me feel this way. I can use that in something that I'm doing. So a natural, but being super resourceful, knowing that this equipment's available and then using it to the best of your ability and thinking about it, being prepared, right? Someone's not just going to give you film equipment if you don't walk in and say, hey, I have a very clear idea. I have a vision. I have a plan. And that's a huge part of it. And then just being open, right? Open to ideas that and informed about how they can best reflect your story and portray your story. It's absolutely amazing the quick amount of time that all of this came together for you. So I will go back to the word natural because I think that definitely is a fit. And I'm just so happy for you that you found your passion in the most unlikely of ways. How long did it take to make this movie, this second movie that ended up winning a category at a very challenging festival?
it took. I think filming took 4 days. The pre-pro, okay, writing took like about 2 weeks. Pre-pro took a month. Again, shooting took like 4 days, and then editing took me like 2 months. So most of it was in the editing.
How hard did you work?
Uh, I mean, okay, obviously looking at it objectively, very hard, but I had nothing else to do. Like I was a junior in high school during COVID. Like if anything, I was doing it out of fun, So very hard, but out of complete pleasure.
I mean, again, filmmaking, finding this path transformed your life. You went from someone who a year or two earlier was just disillusioned with school and, disinterested. And you were, everyone knew you as a soccer player. And then all of a sudden, a few years later, you find this thing that's super hard, but it doesn't feel hard to you because you're just immersed in it and love it. How has your process changed since then? Like how have you evolved? What have you learned that makes you a better filmmaker today? Do you still do it the same way? I want to know about your process.
I've learned to do it so many different ways that I'm so confused if there even is a way to, because I think ever since I made that film, then I just kept making all types of films, like experimental films, documentaries, music videos. Like I tested different approaches. I tried making films without a script. I tried making films by myself, and one of the, like I tried so many, or just shooting it on the spot one day, just grabbing some friends and say we're gonna make a film. I tried so many different approaches because I was so obsessed with figuring out if there was an approach. Um, and I think now in film school, I think I've film school has definitely helped me shape or find a voice. I would say I think I'm finding an approach that I really really like, especially as a director, because I think I've also narrowed down in my style of directing. Um, and I will say I think right now the biggest thing that has formed my style was making documentaries. Um, because when I made the documentary on my mom, along with my friend Juan Martinez, um, you something clicked because in film you're used to creating the environment, you're used to creating the mise en scène of the, if I can even say that word right, but it's a complicated word, but the mise en scène of the whole thing, you have to create that from scratch. When you shoot a documentary, it is all there. So now your task is to capture, or how to capture this story. How do you want to frame these people? If anything, do you even want to frame them a certain way, or do you just want them to, for people to see them for who they are? So there's so many choices that you're now thinking more about the people that you're representing. Who are you giving a voice? What is this voice that, what are you trying to say? Like, and you forget all the technical stuff, all the, okay, I want to put a light here, or we need production design here. All of that goes out the window because now you're solely just focused on the characters, the story, and also what light you want to shine on them. And I learned so much from that, from doing that documentary, that now I'm applying to my latest film. And photography. Photography is another huge thing that I got into in college and started doing a lot of street photography. I mostly I think the photography that impacted me was back in Colombia when I went into, you could call them like favelas of
Mm-hmm.
Colombia, and it's like these very narrow kind of streets and alleyways and people living in poverty and houses that they built themselves, and a lot of violence and history, and I took my camera and I documented the whole thing, and the amount of stuff that you can, almost that one image can say, it makes you almost rethink film completely, because we're used to think, like, at least 20th century film, I feel like everything has become so but my professor said it like this: it's like a chocolate bar that's 85% like sugar and 25% chocolate. I think films nowadays are lacking some sort of spice, I would say. And I think photography is one of those things that I think 20th century photography almost skipped, because the amount of things you can say with one frame is insane. Like, and a recent movie that did really well on it is Nickel Boys.
Mm.
If for anyone that has seen that movie, but that idea of that in one frame you can say all that you need to say and just focus on that, it makes you think completely different about the medium and completely different about how you're going to cover your scene, or how you want to block your scene, or what you even want to shoot, or what, what is this image about. That has completely reshaped the way I want to shoot my movies in comparison to
I,
Ilia. So
I'm so glad that came out of this conversation, because that is exactly who you are. And Ilia, which I pronounce wrong over and over again, you are, again, I'm coming back to this instinct that you have. And we're so lucky. The world is lucky that you found this thing. Because there was a chance that you wouldn't, right? And you did, and you're a natural because you were already doing it in Ilia. You were already informing the frame in bigger ways than you even understood, right? But what I love, and what I love for our community to hear, is that you see your journey as ongoing, right? So maybe you do kind of understand it and you do appreciate it, but now you're finding opportunities to grow, to improve, to say, hey, photography can teach me. Old photography can teach me. There is too much fluff in the movies I'm watching, and I want to do it differently. That's the only thing an artist, should do, right? Is take your natural instinct and impulses and desire to tell stories about the things that are important to you based on your experiences and your appreciation for your family, and elevate it into an art form. I'm just so happy that you got to that place in this conversation where you're talking about that. And also, it sounds like you're really utilizing the college experience. It's not a party school for you, is it? You're working. You're exploring. You're trying new things. You learned. What I'm hearing is you learned from making the documentary things you could have never learned if you didn't. And yet you're not going to be a documentary filmmaker.
I'm open
not
to
necessarily.
it.
Okay.
But,
all right.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
No, I was going to say, definitely being here at Florida State and the film school here. And I know earlier I said I would choose the path of going guerrilla style and not film school. Mm-hmm. But just to defend at least my film school, I think I'm very lucky to be at Florida State or FSU Film. I think it's a very, very different film school than other film schools in the country for many reasons, mainly because and we preach this, there's an equal playing field, meaning every kid has the same chance to make a film. It's not like USC or NYU that you have to rush the equipment room to get some equipment to make your film, and you have to be the first one in line or you might not get equipment. Here, all the equipment and all the opportunity is equal across the board, meaning everyone's going to have the same equipment, the same everything, the same amount of time, the same amount of days, no higher budget, none of that to make your film, which I think is huge for in terms of creating an equal environment for everyone. Mm-hmm. And another thing I love about Florida State Film School is that the professors really, really try to make you find your voice and try to push you to find your voice. We have really, really huge professors, and one in particular that I'll mention called Victor Nunez, who I think has been a huge, I mean, if I never was a student, I don't know where I'd be, because I think he's taught me so much about film and his experience with film, and it's just crazy. Having professors and having people that have done it and have made multiple films and have been alive for so much longer than you, it teaches you so much. And having a mentor, to me, is super valuable. And you can find a mentor even if you're not in film school, but film school does make that a little easier. So I will say, those are some of the best things about film school. And obviously your class too.
Yeah, I love it.
Having the community.
You said something that if I was a high schooler, back in your shoes when you were in high school and I was listening to this, I would want a little bit more depth on the emphasis on finding your voice. Whether it's that specific professor or someone else, how do they do that? Because if I'm a high school filmmaker right now, I'm like, I want to find my voice. What do I need to do? How do I jumpstart that process? What's the path towards finding your voice? What does it look like?
Well,
I know that's not an easy question to answer.
Yeah, and I think it's also very different for everybody.
Is it activities and assignments? Is it just tapping into things?
No. Yeah. I think half of it, for me specifically talking, I think photography has been a gateway to finding my voice. I think documentary filmmaking has been a gateway to finding my voice.
And that would be because of the value of every frame. That's what you're talking about.
The value of every frame and just looking at film completely differently. And also just who you want to give a voice to. That's also part of your voice in a sense, because these characters that you're writing, it's almost the same question you ask yourself when you're about to make a documentary. Why this story? What's the perspective? And, what light are you shining on this community that hasn't already been seen? Which is part of finding a voice. You don't want your voice to be Christopher Nolan's. You don't want your voice to be Martin Scorsese, you want to be your own person. So you have to figure out, what do you care about? What matters to you? And also, what do you understand? Figuring out, what do you understand at a deeper level? What is something that, like, there's things like something I did in my documentary that I think, I'm still so young, and like, to be fair, like, to me, knowing what a voice is in this is, I won't say
Sure.
I know it, but something that I think was something like that is, in my documentary, I picked out this sound for this segment of that is cars. Like, it's supposed to be like a street. And I picked out a sound that sounded like cars in Colombia, because the story is about Colombia. And I picked out the specific sound because I'm like, oh, these cars sound so much what a street in Colombia sounds like. And I put it in the film, and I screened it. And I know, I remember I screened it to my class, and my professor was like, you got to get rid of these car sounds. Like, they don't sound like too good. Like, you could definitely find better ones. But I'm like, I didn't respond. I was just like, okay, you also have to take the comment. And I kept it. And then after the screening, my friend's dad, who's Colombian, came up to me and was like, those car sounds sounded so much like Colombia. How did you do that? And I'm like, I was just so like, wow, I can't believe you caught that. But also, that's part of the voice. It's there's certain things that only you know, and only you can figure out how to translate that into other people that like you, or that might have similar roots like you. And find a way to cultivate those things, and put them in your stories, because it's how we can give a different light to all of this, and in your light, your specific light to all of this.
I love it. Very insightful. What's the hardest part of doing what you're doing now?
I think balancing, like, a normal life, I think is part of it. Uh, Truly speaking, probably the distance from my family, like, and being 7 hours away from home. My parents are both over 60, and I want to see them. My mom actually moved to the US recently, like a year ago. So, having her here but not being able to spend as much time as I wish I could with her, that's one of the hardest things. So many friends and stuff that I've lost contact with just because of the distance being here. So it's a sacrifice, it is really a sacrifice. And I think you're always kind of finding a balance in this whole artist thing. And it's hard, I will say, but my professor gave me this really good advice, and it's like, you can't let that bad side almost take over yourself. Like, we are all a little bit of everything. And you want to acknowledge that, you're not just a filmmaker, or you're not just, a writer, you're so much more. You're a little bit of everything. And remembering that is good, not giving up everything, or to one thing. That's been something that has helped me out of the hardest parts of doing this, just remembering that.
And what's your favorite part about making movies? What makes the sacrifice worth it for you?
It's everything. I can't explain it. I mean,
I sense that. I do sense that.
yeah, like, I mean, from the second I'm ready, from just sitting down or laying down in my bed, listening to, like, music and thinking of images, to having created a whole film and having created a story, like, the whole process I love. Like, so all of it is, to me, the best part. But I think the best part is when work outlives you and can impact other people, and it's not about you anymore, and it just stands on itself, and people get stuff from it, and creating something more than you. That's what I really love, the impact that film can have. That's bigger than you, that's bigger than the crew, that's bigger than stuff that we can even understand. So that's one of my favorite parts as well.
It's one of my favorite parts as well. And, you might not have known it making your second film, but Ilia is a film that I show when I travel around the country. And I often get comments like, I can't believe a high school student made this. which is even more impactful for me now, knowing that, you know, you were still so fresh in your journey when you made it. And comments like, you know, this is a story I can relate to. And all of that is because you informed it with your own personal experience, and having that perspective from you deepens my appreciation for the story as well. And you do such a good job of communicating it clearly, instinctually at that point. But obviously hard work is a big part of it. And so thank you for giving that gift to our community, for a film that I also love that it's a sci-fi film, right? That technically it's about space travel and technology, but it's really not. It's about people and relationships and yearning for something and doing whatever it takes throughout all of the ups and downs to get that thing, you know, to get it back. And it's just so delicate how you end it with just one word coming out of the speaker. I always emphasize that when I'm teaching it as well. So grateful that you gave that to us. A couple more questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. What's next? What are you working on next? What's on the horizon for you?
Well, graduating for sure. I graduate in
Stick with it.
2026.
Okay.
So I'm getting close to going out into the real world. I think what's next in the upcoming future is production designer for my friend's film. That's the nearest thing that I'm working on right now, and also making my next film. That's like near future.
For
But
independent filmmakers that are listening, doing this all on their own, what does that mean, production designer? What does that role involve?
the production designer basically takes care of all, uh, think of props, think of costumes, think of um, special SFX things that you might need, maybe all of that. That a production designer takes care of that. So that can lift some weight off the director or off the cinematographer, to let someone fully focus on the the production design of the image, because when you have a monitor and you're looking at an image, the director is looking at performance, he's looking at the actors, he or she is looking at the actors, the DP or cinematographer is looking at the lighting and the frame. The production designer can be looking at the props and, oh, that bed sheet, okay, maybe I can straighten it a little, or, oh, those curtains, maybe I can move them a little so they have a little bit more life, or, oh, like that color, oh, maybe I could put a pillow there that's red so I can direct your eye to the back. You're thinking of also the image, but in a different way than the director and the DP might be thinking of. So you can definitely put your voice into the film as well.
It's awesome, and it's the little details that make the film authentic, which you had a keen eye for from a young age. But also, once you have those things, making sure you're getting the most out of them. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so production designer, that's on the horizon very soon. Anything else that you're working on? I know you're working on a lot of things.
Well, okay. I mean, if we're talking everything, I'm editing my friend's music video. A close friend of mine, my roommate that I've been living with like my whole time in college, I made a music video for him. I'm working on releasing another music video that I just made like 2 months ago. I'm working on my film in pre-production. I location scouted today. I'm casting actors for that. And it's a very personal film. It's about South Florida, and somehow I'm going to tell it here in Tallahassee. And I won't say too much, because if you guys want to know anything about it, feel free to find me somewhere, and I'd love to talk. But it's not about that. And I have a production company-ish here in Tallahassee that I run with my friend. And this is mainly because, as a filmmaker, you also have to have a business brain. You have to figure out how to make money to fund your films, to fund your ideas. So we did a little thing here because we saw that there's a lot of events and parties being thrown in Tallahassee. So we created third-person media. So to allow all these venues to have some photographer and videography, I've been doing live sets of like DJs. So I've been doing like a multi-camera setup of DJs mixing their own stuff and editing those 2-hour sets. and growing a company called Wonky Town here in Tallahassee. That's like an EDM slash house venue that I've been with them from the start, and we've been growing that together. Me from the content part, but also some management stuff as well. So
Oof,
yeah, I've
that's
been keeping my
amazing.
hands busy. But you
I'm
got to
glad
do a little bit of everything.
you do, and you have to keep your options open, and you never know
Yeah.
sort of, where you will fall and how you'll find your way. And who knows, maybe you'll just continue to do a little bit of everything. I love that you have that business perspective. I love the name, third person. Perfect.
Yeah.
And just keep diversifying your portfolio, until you find exactly what it is you want to do. Or again, maybe it'll be all of these things. I do have to ask, what was your experience with All American like? What did that mean for you as you were sort of an evolving filmmaker, wondering if this is the right path for you?
I'm glad you asked because honestly, being here to me is very special to be talking with you specifically and have the All American audience to be speaking to because it was so special to me. Like, and it was such a pivotal festival for me specifically. Um, One, I was able to get my whole family to go to the festival, like my mom included. She was there when Ilia screened. So that was super special. I mean, them seeing my work up in a screen, I think if my parents are traditional Colombian
Mm-hmm.
Hispanic, like I don't think they kind of understood this whole film thing until they went to All American. They saw the passion in the kids. They saw the movie screened in these huge screens, not my little computer that I'm showing them, like a theater. And it validated a lot of thoughts for them. So that was pivotal for them to believe in me. But they already believed in me. But I think, if anything,
Sure.
they got more excited for me, I would say. Um, and not just that, I met so many cool people at All American. Ethan Chu, I think I'm pronouncing it right. He
Yep.
made it pho that year, and then a lot of the people from All American. Then I went to Young Arts with right after All American. I got to meet them more in depth, and there's just so much talent at All American. Um, I don't know. It's just the kids, bro. Like all the kids that go to All American, they're so talented. Like I've seen some people that are freshmen winning, or I think a sophomore won a prize one time, like editing best.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's just crazy how talented people are, and to me, like mentoring the next generation is always so important. Um, and for All American to allow seniors to mentor sophomores
Yep.
and freshmen from other schools, even. I mean, that's just those connections are invaluable, and I think more than ever right now, people are really taking advantage of that. I think like when I was there, it was pretty big, but now I think there's a lot of kids really connecting All American more than ever, really doing stuff outside of All American together. Especially in New York too. There's a good amount of kids that moved to New York, and
Yep.
I think that might have been because of All American because they all found connections in New York. So I don't know. I think it's amazing. I think the fact I don't know how long it's been around, but I know it's been around for quite a bit, and for you guys to do this and give people like me and hundreds or maybe thousands. I mean, for how long you guys have been doing it, probably thousands of kids.
Yep.
This chance to dream. It's like I really appreciate you guys for doing it for real. Like it changed
Well,
my life, so I really
that's
appreciate you guys.
it's amazing to hear. I could easily let myself get choked up over that answer, and it's just so gratifying because that's all the things we aim to do, and to hear you say, that is what you got out of it. The validation, the connections, um, just the inspiration by seeing so many other talented young filmmakers. That was the goal, and 13 years is the answer. This is year 13. And we're really proud of it, and that our goal is for you to dream and to believe in that dream, but to put in the work and have the resources you need to actually realize it in a practical way. And that's a challenging thing to do when you're dealing with art. And we're just grateful to cross paths with people like you and to have such a thriving community. It's just as special for me sitting here with you as I hope that it is for you sitting here with us. One last question. I just want to know if someone's listening out there, they're a young Sam Correa, and should I keep doing this, or how do I have the energy to keep pushing forward, because this is not an easy thing to do, and we're talking about all the ups for the most part, but there's plenty of downs involved too. What piece of advice do you have? Let's say you're speaking to your high school self. What advice would you give to a young emerging filmmaker?
Well, first, I will say that I understand everybody has completely different circumstances. I know there's kids that live in places that don't have a TV production program and a community, and those kids might feel extra lonely and extra incapable to do this. And those are the ones that I want to speak to, because I genuinely believe you guys can do it. I genuinely believe that with your iPhone, with your camera, if you have a camera, with your mom, with your brother, with your little brother, like grab them and shoot something, shoot a film, take some pictures even. You don't even got to get into this whole film craziness. If you just want to start with taking some photos or doing some documentary stuff, like just starting somewhere, I think is key, because it'll develop you and it'll develop your style and what you look at. I think before you even grab a camera, just go outside and observe, because I think that's what people are not doing anymore. And it's so important as to the development of a person, is go outside and observe people, observe nature, observe the world, observe the state of the world, because that will inform you a lot in what you want to make and why you're making this before you even grab a camera. Because all the technical stuff, trust me, you guys can find somebody later in the future to figure out all that and teach you that. You guys can learn the technical. I'm telling you, 1 year of pure dedication and you can become the best cinematographer. It's more your distinct view at the world that will really help you out and also push you as far as you need to go, and dream, because those dreams, as well as those specific experiences that every human has together, you can go as far as you want. So to all those kids, really just, man, go out there, see the world for yourself, and have fun. Live life first, because there's some directors that don't get into this till their 40s. So there's no rush. I'm sure everyone's super young. Keep living, keep enjoying. Don't feel pressure. And yeah, that's my advice.
I love it, Sam. Well, thank you, Sam, for an insightful glimpse into your experiences and motivations as a storyteller. I encourage all of you to check out links to Sam's impressive body of work in the description. And of course, thanks to all of you for tuning in and joining us. I remind you that this is just one of many in-depth conversations with the future of film. Go to hsfilmfest.com for more information on the All-American High School Film Festival, and please subscribe and share across all platforms to support filmmakers like Sam and our entire important community of artists. We will see you next time. Thank you, Sam.
Peace. Thank you, guys.